Okay, it is 5:15, so we will call this meeting to order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're all here. Welcome, thank you. So I would love to hear a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No.
Do we all just need to take a minute?
I abstain.
Okay, Karen is abstaining because she wasn't here last month, but everyone else, vote to approve the minutes from.
here either.
March.
And Joe's, she's not voting on it.
Okay, Julie also was not here, so she also is abstaining. All the rest in favor? Okay, everyone, thanks. So we are moving right ahead to parks usage request forms. The first item on the list is Monument Mountain. Carl's here, yes. You want to come forward and tell us a little bit about what you're asking for?
Sure. I'm asking, after looking at the Memorial Field, the way that it drains, even today, I was down there today and we could play a baseball game on there today. Where our field in the high school is underwater right now, it just doesn't drain the same way. Ideally, it would be great if we could have Memorial Field for our varsity home games in case there's weather conditions, like we're having this whole week. So I sent the schedule, the season schedule, and a little bit more of a description, but that's pretty much it.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the hope would be to use Memorial Field when you cannot use the baseball.
Well, we have a couple special days that we presented last week, that we'd like to definitely play. And then we're thinking, it's gonna have to be, kind of a week by week thing based on the weather. But
Based on the weather, but based on the weather, like if it's raining in either field, you're not gonna play.
no, I mean, right now it's slightly raining, but we feel like we could get that field together and we could play today.
Okay.
Where our field, there's no way we'd be able to play that. We could play tomorrow on Memorial Field, but we know tomorrow, there's no way our field's gonna be ready tomorrow.
Okay, so but just to understand, like what we're talking about is sort of like a contingency for the games.
Right.
That,
There's a couple dates we've secured. But that's pretty much the plan.
okay, great. Questions from commissioners?
Point of information, let's start with what we've got here. The first thing is to use it on April 12th and April 26th.
Those are
right?
the special.
Okay,
Yep.
so here's my overall concern about all of this. Number one, that field's not appropriate to play on yet. The grass is brown. We have not, at this point, released the final payment for that field because we have a warranty issue with the sod. And until that greens up, I'm concerned. And Joe's gonna be the arbiter of the final on that, okay? The other thing is I think going forward, we have to look at. I appreciate that the high school field doesn't drain and whatever, but I also know that there are two other groups that use that field. So I don't want, all of a sudden the high school goes, well, we're gonna play all our games, and so you guys are gone. So there has to be a real discussion about how, when, and it's applied. You understand what I'm saying, Carl? That's what I'm concerned about.
So I'm curious if we can hear from Joe about the state of the field and the state of the field can, like, considering if teams are playing on it versus if they're not playing on it.
So, just to give you a little bit more background, when the sod went in later last year and winter started coming around, the sod browned up. And, I reached out to the sod supplier and they said they've heard that from a few different places where their sod has been installed. He wasn't overly concerned. He had recommendations for us about fertilizing it in the spring, which the fertilizer has been ordered. And then kind of see what happens. Meanwhile, the company that did the work, has brought a lawyer into the picture about, looking for their money. And he basically said, hey, it's retainage money we're holding, which in my opinion is not nearly enough to resod that field. So right now they have said if we didn't pay them more verbally, then they would seek to go to court. So Chris is involved with this and he's talking to town council, but we all feel we're within our rights to hold the retainers because there's a concern. It doesn't make the field unplayable, and that company released us to play on it last year, so you're probably gonna play on, it's, the sodded areas are quite brown right now. Some of the original field areas have green in them, but they brown up too, so, Mr. Gibbons had shot me a note and asked me if I should get another sod company like out of Sheffield to come up and evaluate. I can call, I haven't done it yet, I haven't been around for a couple days. So we can do that, just get another opinion, but we're gonna follow through with the starter fertilizer like we suggested and stuff, so. Again, I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't let people play on the field.
Is there any concern, or would it be helpful to get more information from another sod company to tell us whether or not having people play on it before it goes green is gonna have an effect on its ability to go green? I'm sorry, I don't know anything about
Yeah,
this,
that's
so.
fair.
Yeah, no, I can ask the questions, it's rooted, it's well established, you
Yeah.
can't pull that up.
This makes sense to you, right? Like the idea
Yeah.
would be, we don't wanna do something that is gonna damage our ability to use it properly in the future. Just in favor of getting on it as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
I was down there today, it looked pretty good. Like I saw growth underneath the brown, so
Did you? Yeah.
some green coming up.
Honestly, I'm suspecting that that's what's gonna happen, because areas throughout town round up more than they. Right, late dryness or whatever. So honestly, I think we're gonna be okay. The only thing I would ask is that you make sure we don't have conflicting dates if you approve this with the other.
For sure. So I know that these dates were looked at on the calendar, but the full schedule that you sent,
Is not.
it's not included in this agenda.
That was a
It didn't
later
come.
edition.
Yes, and-
Somebody wrote me, so we could discuss that tonight, it was acceptable to do that.
yes.
That's why I did.
So that's great. And, so the idea would be that we could, preliminarily approve the use as long as it didn't interfere with anything else that we had already.
So you mentioned you could get that field ready to play. What do you mean by that when you say that?
I was told that there's equipment in the shed.
There is.
That we possibly could use.
Oh, yeah.
Our coaches are very skilled at, running the tractors and dragging it.
Okay.
And, our facilities guys would line it. I don't know about the mowing part, you probably have
So
some.
we'll take care of the mowing,
Yeah.
unless you guys want to swing a deal with them.
If you gave us some more, we'd mow it. We would. They like that too, because they can control the length of the
Yeah,
grass.
that's.
They
Yeah.
like a nice slow
Mhm.
infield.
Yeah, well,
Best in-
the infield is one thing, the outfield we purposely left up a little bit, because that was the last sod. And we didn't wanna-
Understood.
Mhm.
We'll take whatever you guys give us. We'll do as much work as you let us do.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want us to do that, that's fine.
Great. Julie and then Karen?
I think we've
Okay,
talked about the same thing, that there is a conflict on Saturdays, from April first to November first at the Southern Berkshire Bay Group.
Yeah.
From
But-
8 to 4 p.m.
Every Saturday?
Yeah.
But the question really becomes, is the Babe Ruth using it all day? Do they have away games? Do they have home games? We should clarify that with them. You're right. But I think, again, people want to block off all days.
Right.
And if the field is empty for 7 out of 9 hours,
Yeah.
that this isn't right.
Can I make a suggestion? I think that, if we could deal with right here, what's in front of us.
Yeah.
And deal with that, and then say, okay, Miller Bat, Babe Ruth, high school, and let's get a very detailed about what hours of usage, so we know. And then everything will stop if things aren't good. But Joe's gonna be the arbiter of that.
Well, Joe, Kara, and the calendar first.
Oh, so if there's conflict?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think if we get everyone's dates, and Steve makes a good point, because
Yeah.
everyone's so accustomed to saying, hey, I want it from May to October, and and half the time they're not there.
So with everybody's permission, I just want to reiterate something we've talked about a bunch in the past, which is that one of our stated priorities as this commission is to make our resources available to as many groups as possible, as much of the time as possible, without it taking away from our ability to let other groups also use those spaces. So it sounds like you'd be happy to work with other groups and understand
Yeah,
what
like next
our,
week Saturday's Babe Ruth. I
Yep.
can move my game on a Saturday to any hour from 8 in the morning until
Great,
5
there you
at night.
great,
So
How
I
about
can work
practice
around
this
whatever. Weekdays, school days are a little bit more challenging.
Of course.
but, you know, we can make it work as best we can. Giving Babe Ruth priority first, and we'll work around that.
Great, so I mean, my inclination is to these two dates, I think, were looked at on the calendar and met the needs of other existing groups. So my inclination is for us to take a vote on approving those two. And then to say like, please get us, I'll take that calendar that you sent to Kara, we'll look at it with the other dates and then preliminarily approve the use of the other fields.
Do it next
contingent-
meeting.
We can do it next meeting,
Yeah.
contingent on well, we may not be able to do it next meeting, because I think a bunch of those dates are before the next meeting.
Right, what
We can do it
is,
between.
You know, when I see Kara in the morning, we can turn around and reach out to everybody, get their particular schedules, and lay them on a calendar. Okay, identify any conflicts and then have discussions with the parties to see who can move.
Great.
Great, and I wanna just request, once that happens, I'll talk to Kara about it also, that we could, if at all possible, to get that up on the website. So that everybody can see what's happening when, and all Babe Ruth games, whatever, I mean, I think it's good for the whole town to know what's happening when, if at all possible.
And the men's wooden bat too.
Yeah, absolutely,
We don't have, do we have a Babe Ruth schedule at all yet?
no,
No,
I can speak to that if you want.
I know they're here for that, but
I can speak to that if you like, we will be starting games in, probably the third weekend of May, we don't have the schedule out yet. But almost 100% of our players are playing in high school ball, so they are on Monument, they're on Mount Everett, there wouldn't be conflicts across with Monument there.
great,
We'll be done by the time they start, it sounds like.
fabulous, excellent. Could I ask both of you guys also to just stay in really close communication with us about games and your calendars? If for no other reason, that we'd love to put it on the calendar, make sure that the community can also see when these things are happening.
Yeah.
Cause I think it's a real benefit to the whole community, that it's in town, that it's available, that it's happening, and that we can track it. Yeah, sound good? Other questions? Paul?
yeah, I just want a clarification here from
Yep.
Joe. The 12th is this Saturday, correct?
Sorry?
The 12th is this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you saying that it's okay to play in the field the way it is right now?
They were letting us play on it last year, so no one has told us not to play on it. So, you know, some person walking on the infield or outfield isn't gonna ruin the soccer.
Okay,
If it's ruined already,
all right.
you know, but I've seen the same things, you know, there's signs of growth, it's still adhered well. I mean, I think it's gonna turn green, so.
And we're having enough water to help it along.
Yeah.
So,
Carl, you did ask in one of your things about, one of the things you mentioned is that there's bathroom facilities at Memorial Field. I'm curious where they are.
No, I didn't mention that, I know you guys don't have them, and nor do we have them at our high school field, but maybe I did, or could we have porta potties there on a special event? Maybe that's what I mentioned.
I'm wondering, as part of the deal, wouldn't it perhaps be a good idea to offer some porta potties for the season? From the high school's perspective.
I could look into that.
I'm just wondering if that wouldn't be a generally good idea for all the persons that,
I don't recall if we put them at the skate park, we're just getting that ironed out right now, but I don't recall if they're there.
we do. They're on the other side of the building. It might be nicer to have them where, you know what I mean? Okay.
like we do for years, co-op.
Just in case you
So
were.
you're
Not
saying you
sure.
want additional?
No, I'm saying the idea of having, especially at my age, having bathrooms at all public places are a good idea.
But are there some at the skate park already, or no?
Not yet.
Oh,
They're usually in the back side of the building, the river
I just wanna
side.
make sure I understand, are you asking me to ask school to provide porta potties?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
great. Should we take a vote? Any
I got,
other?
I
Yeah,
got a
please.
question. I got a question for Joe. When the fertilizer arrives and gets put down, is there a time frame where you
No,
can't play on it?
Everything we're gonna use is safe for pets, it's safe for humans. It doesn't have, glyphosate, but whatever.
Glyphosate.
It doesn't have that, and
Okay.
anything we use doesn't have that, so, no, those were the first questions we asked.
Can I ask a question before you vote?
Yeah, please.
So what would be my next steps as far as, let's say there was a game this week? How do I proceed with getting permission for those dates that are not those special events that have already been approved?
Well, you did send me,
The schedule?
The
whole
schedule.
season? Yeah,
and so if you're interested in using the field for one of those dates, like this week.
Yeah.
You and I just need to be in
Gotcha.
touch,
Okay.
and that's the best way to make that
And Luke,
Right,
happen.
and then second question, how are foul balls into the parking lot with the car getting hit? Has that ever come up?
so sad, too bad.
Is it? Yeah.
Homeowners.
We were there first.
Okay.
The baseball,
I like
I mean,
My father-
I will tell you that the co-op has come to us and said, you know, you ought to put up a full screening system that can be pulled across the parking lot in the game, and, you know, it's like $60,000. It's like, the field's been there before you built it. Sorry.
It's like buying a house near an airport and complaining about planes, you know.
So maybe,
Yeah.
maybe beyond the scope of this evening's meeting, so,
Too bad, so sad.
I like it, great.
Can I just make a, can I just-
Bill.
I don't have a question. I just think, I was very excited to see that the high school was gonna come down to Memorial Field after we put a lot of money into it. I just think this is
You
awesome.
know, wear old Searles uniforms.
I think that's a great idea.
okay.
Make a motion to approve. Make a motion to approve.
Yeah, that, because of the changing conditions, and we don't know, you know, that somewhere in there, we should, have Joe be able to, you know, say, you
Completely.
know,
Pull the plug.
pull the plug on any of these dates if he thinks it's.
Yeah, if something starts taking a turn the wrong way, I'll be reaching out, you all know.
Yeah, just as long as it's not just, yeah, you know, so we still have
Great.
control.
Sound okay? Okay, can we take a vote? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. So you have my number and we can be in touch
I
anytime.
appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much.
If you would just reach out to me, because I think we put a combination lock on that,
Yeah,
on that shed, we'll get a combination.
yeah, does Chipper Paul have access to that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a new lock, so he may not, or he just got it, I'm not sure, but
Is this someplace with the team that you mentioned you might be able to help me, get access?
How about $10
yeah,
he's
yeah,
got?
we'll get that for you.
Um,
There's the parking, we don't have parking. The parking we have is the lot across the street that the owners gave us permission to
Right.
use until they have their, or until something.
VJ has kindly said we can use that for the overflow parking for the baseball field. I would strongly suggest, since we don't have any arrangement legally, that people use that in a very responsible manner.
The other thing we, we're trying to do before everyone's season starts is to get out to all the clay areas and put our Harley rig on and loosen them up. I'm not sure I'm gonna have it done by the 12th. But, we'll let you know.
So that's an attachment to the tractor?
It is, it's just kind of.
So we get access to that, we'll do all that, because we do that every day in our field, if we get permission to do that, with Chipper's assistance.
Yep.
We can play Saturday and let us work on it.
Great, so maybe you guys can make this connection, post meeting and we can make it happen. Okay,
We're good.
thank you so much. Senta, I think is online.
Yoga.
Senta, do you wanna tell us a little bit about what is similar and different from years past?
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so you guys have all the dates. If I have them here too, if you need to review them. I originally, when I put in for the dates, I included May this year. But I talked to the folks who've been doing yoga with me over the winter, and we're okay to start in June instead of in May, because the weather's so iffy anyway then. And we're in an indoor setting right now. So I would just eliminate the May 3, 10, 17, 24, and 31 on Saturday mornings. And start then, as we have every year for the past 12 years, in June. So the first session would be the 4 Saturdays in June, the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. And then again in the fall, we do Saturday.
July.
Well, so I separated it out because there's a difference in time. In June, September, and October, we practice at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. So all the Saturdays in June, September, and October. During the summer, July and August, when the park is much more well used and families arrive often by 9 o'clock in the morning, we would practice every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. so that we have our space and we're not conflicting with people who want to bring families down and have a good time at the lake. So you have all the dates, but basically June, September, October, 9 a.m. Saturdays. And over the summer, July and August, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, all at 8 a.m. So that's basically the same as last year.
Great. I'm curious, about, Bill has mentioned in the past, the state of the grassy area over at Lake Mansfield. I have not been up to see it, since spring really properly.
I don't think there's any concern with the grass.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It's looking
Um,
pretty good. I've been down.
Great.
Could we
It's
just clarify the
beautiful, actually.
times?
So it says 7:30 because I think that sent us time to, set up and assess the area and clean
Okay.
up, but the class time, I think, is a half an hour after the time she's requested. Is that correct, Santa?
Yeah, so I arrive usually at 7:30. For whatever reason, there's often a lot of debris on the beach, toys and things that are lying around. I clean up the whole area, the beach and the lawn there, so that when people come, it looks nice and it's
Right.
part of our stewardship of the lake. We like to do that. So I'm down there at 7:30. And usually after practice, maybe we're there 15 minutes picking up, and people might have a question about something that they need for themselves that came out of the practice. But I mean, again, it's very comfortable when families do show up. Often I'll see kids, 50 feet away trying to do the yoga poses. It's like we're pretty compatible with everyone there. I've never had it, be a situation where either we or other people were inconvenienced by our presence or their presence. The only thing that
Great.
sometimes is a problem is sometimes the geese are not so compatible. So,
Well, we're working on that in general, so.
Yeah.
hoping that's less of an issue in general. Motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Okay, any
Awesome.
discussion from commissioners? No? Okay, shall we take a vote? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, everyone, Santa, you're all set, okay?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care, meeting.
Thank you. Great Barrington Little League, please. Hi, will you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what's similar to or different from years past?
I'm Kristen Keepner, president of the Great Barrington Little League. Nothing has really changed. However, from the years past, from last year at all, it's all gonna be the same. Chip is actually the outfield maintenance people again, so we're good in that aspect. But I just have some questions, and they're probably more directed towards Joe, which I can address after. It's just about the parking and the barriers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if that's directed towards you guys, or is it?
We'll start with
Sorry.
us. No, that's great. We'll start with us and then probably there will be more
Okay.
to talk to Joe about.
Okay.
But as Karen points out, in your request here, just the hours that you're planning to use the field, the request is 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Is
Yeah.
that realistic?
No. So, right, Karen knows, she's been on this route before, I mean.
That's why I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Okay, stop. So I haven't put times in there, only because we don't have a finalized game schedule yet. We're still working on it, but I can give that to you as well, like, Monument will, I can give that to you too. So with all the games for all the divisions.
For sure, that would be really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we're hoping in general to have more clarity and a more concrete
Yeah.
expectation so that we can make sure that the fields are available to others when you're not using it.
As well. If Mr. Aberdale has to do any maintenance and stuff, you say 9 to 8, and we need to know, so what I would put on this from now is TBA, to be announced in the sense of,
Okay,
so we have some idea, if something has to be done, or if you're gonna mow, or what, so it just, the more specific, the better. We do have somebody who's gonna be working that can get the website, so people will be able to flip it up and go, oh, there's 4 games and it's happening, and that'll be great.
yeah, because it's super, but that also arises more concerns for me with parking down there. Because it's limited already when we have, so We're doing interleague play now, so we're bringing down Pittsfield, we're bringing down Adams Cheshire, we're bringing in Dalton Hinsdale. So those are the other four, divisions that we deal with just for the major league right now.
Yeah.
We're trying to get the younger guys in there. So in that aspect is bringing in more people, to come in down there. And I know we've had issues down there, so I understand why it's all there. It's just, if we do it on, so say we have a game on a Saturday and soccer's down there and they have a game on a Saturday, that's a tremendous amount of parking.
Totally.
And luckily, our parents haven't been awful with the field, so a lot of them do park on the football field and the soccer field to watch the major league
Right.
on there,
Yeah.
which has been known for the years past. So that's the only reason why I just bring that up as a concern, and also like a contact for us too, for soccer, so we can coordinate with them too, so
For
that we're
sure.
on the same page.
That would be really great. One thing that I think would be helpful as you start to learn days that are going to have more people.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I think we would really like to know, to be able to expect, so that we can also build in some margins around that.
Yeah.
The like transition time,
Yeah.
Karen?
I'm wondering, based on what the concerns are and everything else, if we shouldn't have somebody really look at that whole space and start to design how parking should happen from a professional perspective, because it's hit or miss. And it's like the Wild West. And I
Well, I
would,
think we'll have to look at it when, it's very active down there and see what goes on. The intentions are, as you go down the bottom of the hill, the barriers to the right with the gate on it,
Yeah.
they're gonna stay, the
Yeah.
gate's gonna come off.
Okay.
Okay, so this way here, people can access that way.
Yeah.
The barriers of the gate between the snack shack and the major league field, as far as I'm concerned, no one goes beyond that.
Okay.
Okay, I think if, we had $5,000 or $6,000 worth of damage done twice now. So until we can better control that, or maybe in limited situations, if someone's having a major tournament or something like that, then we can look at it selectively, it doesn't conflict with the, soccer or something like that. I would be subject to it, but I mean, we spend a lot of money fixing stuff down there, and it ruins the soccer field,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a multi-purpose field.
Right.
It's horrible if somebody goes down there and does that,
And all that, it's like, our intentions and maintenance, we have a grub problem, especially on the softball field, which we're gonna take care of in the spring. So, we're trying to step it up even more. We bought covers for the home plate, and pitchers now, so we just put those back, those type of things.
Yeah.
So I think maybe just to reiterate, like, we wanna make sure that the fields are all available to be used by as many groups as possible. So just wanna make sure that you feel that you can help
Yeah,
us with
for
that.
sure. Once we get our schedule finalized for all the divisions, which we hopefully utilize both fields at the same time.
Great.
So ideally would, open up more days to
Perfect.
be, that we aren't there.
Great.
But they generally practice on days that they don't have games for the most part too, but I'll send you the
Do you
schedule.
wanna say something or do you wanna take
Motion.
it? Yes, okay.
motion to approve.
Can I, a second? Okay.
Sorry.
So the commissioner, the plan down there with all three of those fields that have gates around them is to chain them and lock them. Okay, and give the users the code. So
Great.
this way here, people aren't out there using the dog pens playing fetch in the middle of the field.
Great,
Thank you.
yeah,
So
that's excellent.
the only one we can't do too much about is the practice field or the softball field out back, but.
Should we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, please be in touch, thank you so
I will.
much.
Thank you.
That's great. The Run It Back 3v3 tournament at Memorial Fields. I don't know who is here for that. If you're here for the 3v3, will you raise your hand?
Motion to table.
Tabled. Southern Berkshire.
Oh,
Bay-
Southern-
I'm sorry, I cannot see the name. Oh, Zach,
Hey guys, hey, can you hear me?
hi, yes.
Oh, totally. Sorry, I've never used Zoom before, so I have been here the whole time. I've just been, I just unmuted myself, I guess. Sweet.
Good job.
I'm here. Sweet.
Yeah, you're here.
All right. Yeah, 3v3. Yeah.
Great, so can you tell us a little bit about what you're asking for? We have the parks usage request. What should we expect from?
Sorry. Pretty much what Garrett did, but 3v3 tournament. He had such a good turnout a couple years ago. great vibes. I think about 100 people were there, all ages, like, no problems. This is going to be smaller, and hopefully kind of a, annual springtime event of 3v3 because kind of miss it and want to bring it back. Yeah, but we have about 35 people worth of the teams. We have 7 teams already committed. And we're looking to get 8 to 12, somewhere in there, somewhere to do a little bracket, double elimination. I'm putting up, I'm investing into it, just whatever we need, little score tables, things like that. I'm not selling food or refreshments or anything. It's kind of bring your own. Eventually would like to, if people like it, people really enjoyed Summer Jam, which was Garrett's event. So yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Okay,
Well-
any discussion from any
What,
commissioners?
what is the age range for these teams?
Age range is, I think I would say the youngest, maybe 14. And the oldest is Bart. And I don't know how old Bart is. If you guys know Bart, he's a local from around here.
Well,
He's,
no, like, real question, is this for adults or for kids?
I couldn't hear that, but yeah, no, he's
Multi-generational.
yeah, great baller. He's probably in his 60s, late 60s, maybe 70. Yeah, he runs with us though. It's kind of impressive. So
Yeah, so it's multi-generational, yes, it's for.
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
Teens and adults, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Can we take a vote? Yes, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Let us know how it goes, please.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Babe Ruth, thank you.
We're doing the same thing that we did last year, well, that we've been doing, we'll have one team down here in Great Barrington, starts about midway through May, it'll go through midway through July. And then we'll have our all-stars will be doing travel, we may do some scrimmages through July, and then again doing fall ball, come August, September time.
Great.
I know last fall when I was here, you were asking for, maybe just some standard guidance on how to open and close the field, so I drafted some up just to be able to hand out, I know.
Give it to him, don't give it to me.
You all just wanna see, yeah.
Thank you, that's great.
So Debbie, make sure you have that in the book.
I did wanna ask, last year you would ask, well, we didn't collect, I had the stats, but we never showed up because we didn't use Memorial Field. But do you want us to again collect the stats on all the different players that are coming in?
Yep.
Well, okay.
Yes, please. That'd be really great for us in an ongoing way. So if you could just plan to do that, that would be excellent. Thank you for this. This is awesome. Cool.
Question, just what I'm noticing and I'm seeing on Carl's and yours is the more that you guys can do the dragging and the lining and all that stuff, it takes the burden off DPW. But it needs to be coordinated.
Yes.
I really implore you and Carl and the Millers that there needs to be a meeting of the minds with Joe, so he doesn't have our guys, if they're, all they gotta do is mow once a week, great, and everybody else takes care of everything else, ducky. So,
Oh, and so what's available to all the leagues too is we keep, a 275 gallon tote of the rock salt Dawn solution there.
vinegar, yeah,
You're more than welcome to come over and fill your sprayers.
and spray
Use
them.
it, okay, it's over
Into
the cemetery office. We're gonna do the same thing in prepping the fields this year. As soon as we get out there and everything, we're gonna thatch them, we're gonna mow them, we're gonna bag it. We're gonna loosen up the clays for you, things like that, and then hopefully you guys take over from there and.
Yes.
We'll step in
And we don't have a mower, but other than that, we take
Yeah.
care of all the
The
dragging.
mowers that were bought for you guys, and it would take you 4 hours to mow a field. So I think you'd be more using for dragging or whatever.
Right.
Bill had a question?
I think what Karen said is right, that everybody should get together and talk, but I think that I'd like to propose that all these field, like, we have a lot of people wanting to use the fields.
Yes.
And maybe if we could have some kind of a gathering
Oh,
or where we get everybody together and say, this is what's happening. Joe gives a quick tutorial on where all the stuff is to take care of the fields, and we have a schedule of when the things get, you know, if we can make this a little bit more organized, I think it would really benefit the fields and everybody who uses it too.
How,
you know?
how does that sound to you?
Well, I think a lot of the returning users really understand.
They know what's going on.
It's the new users that might not.
Right, but there are new users coming on board.
But
and
I think
shouldn't that
it's
be?
like, looking at this quickly, I'm like, this almost should be standard for all our things.
Maybe.
Chipper Paul is old, these guys have been on doing it.
I just made some adjustments to theirs.
No, but you've done this, Chipper Paul has done it,
Yeah.
most of the people, I mean,
I'm not sure it's really necessary.
Well, I wonder though if Bill, if,
We're talking about soccer too.
yeah, if the suggestion really is actually that any new group that's gonna use the field gets a little tutorial. And or,
mandatory in service.
well, maybe, but I kind of got excited for just a second, just this is beside the point, we should talk about this another time, but like, wouldn't it be great to have some sort of gathering for all of the groups that are using all of the parks so that they can meet each other and know each other? I mean, you guys that have been doing this forever it's amazing. And what I hear is that there's all of this institutional knowledge that's passed on the team from one person to the other. But what happens when you guys can't do it anymore? Is there the next generation right there? Or is there a way to help bring in the next group to make sure that all of this stuff that you know to do gets passed on so that it doesn't just fall to Joe to make sure? So I don't know, I think, can we table this, but like think a little bit more about it?
Yeah,
I think-
it's great.
I think it's good.
I mean, one thing would be to also involve the Little League
Yes,
with this, even though it's a different field, but it's the next generation.
absolutely, absolutely. Wouldn't that be great to have like the next
You
generation?
wanna be
of
there,
parents?
Kristen?
And we're actually, we're working with Little League now as well to
Great.
have some of our players come down and help run clinics to kind of keep that continuity
It's like
between
a
the two.
dating game.
Yeah, I think it would be, I think
Are
it'd
we
be really
calling
great.
this a party?
So it's like a dating game, but they're already married.
I'm not allowed to have parties. Are we allowed to have parties? Okay, can we take a vote?
But just a quick question.
Sure.
How many, teams do you have this
We
year?
have three teams. We've got one team here in Great Barrington, one in Lee, one in Lennox. Lennox uses War Memorial. Lee uses, their field there. However, I was gonna see if they wanted to come play down here as well on some Saturdays, just to be able to get more use out of this field because it's a much nicer field. But we will have three teams and then the all-star team, which will be made up of players from all three of those.
So there's three teams from Great Barrington. And how many teams there's one from
One
Lennox?
team from Great Barrington. We have one team in Lee, one team in Lennox.
Oh, okay, so that's the total
The
number.
total is three. yes.
Oh, okay, I
But
thought you said.
we're doing extra games. The Great Barrington team will have a lot of players and we rotate. We only bring 12 to a game. So we do more and more games so that everyone gets a certain number of games.
Sure.
Equals that. So we do double headers on Saturdays too. So it's gonna be a lot of baseball.
Great, is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay, then Joe,
So I just have a question for you. In the right
Hey,
field, some of
guys.
the trees are hanging low.
Yes.
Is that problematic?
For us, not as much. We don't have anyone with power that can hit it out there yet.
But the Millers,
But
so.
the Millers, I think, will have challenges there.
Well, that's one thing that's on my list. And then also for all the people, the line machines have all been checked and the supplies were all redistributed this spring. So you guys should.
There you go.
Okay, the line machine had a challenge last year. We started using the sprayers.
Yep.
Instead, but, I think they're
So
still.
they went through it again, but if it continues, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you. Vote, can we take a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, you are approved. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks very much. Great Barrington Land Conservancy, Lake Mansfield for a fundraiser at the beach.
Right there.
Yes, I see.
Actually,
Yeah,
Kate Robin is online.
Great.
She would like to speak to this event.
excellent.
Hey, Robin, up top. Who's running?
Kate Robin.
Top person.
She's unmuted. Yeah,
Oh,
Can you hear me?
oh, yes, yes.
Go ahead, Kate, let her. rip.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi there. I'm Kate Roblin. I'm a board member with Great Barrington Land Conservancy. And we are looking to, for the third year in a row, have a fundraiser event at Lake Mansfield that would feature live bluegrass and free ice cream. It would be Saturday, June 7th from 3 to 6 p.m. And this year, we're also in collaboration with the town, specifically Chris Remble has been chatting with us about maybe combining it with a bit of a celebration just to recognize the improvements at the lake as well. And so I believe he's online as well to maybe speak to that part of it. But the music itself, similar to other years, would be located near the beach, not right on the beach. So people kind of have the option if they want to listen or if they just want to go about their activities together separately. And then otherwise, there wouldn't be a certain event charge. It would just be a suggested donation. What we'd propose is $25 per family, $10 per individual, and kids under 6 free. And proceeds would go to benefit all GBLC properties. And we would have a good amount of board members present to assist with parking and any fee collection and just kind of general management of the event. So that's the portion that I'd like to speak to tonight.
Great. I wonder if we should hear from Chris now or.
Hi,
Hi.
I'd be happy to chat if you'd like.
Well, is this that event, connected to the next one? Yes, connected to the next one. So Christine, do you want to talk about the next one too? And then we can put them all together or?
So are you talking about the volunteer days?
Yes. No, it's
So
not. Okay.
You might want. So we'd be happy to have you consider all of them at once, although I think that the bluegrass celebration is somewhat different.
Okay.
We would expect more people at the bluegrass.
Got it.
I think it's important to know that we changed it from a autumn event when it's a music in house to a June event. And I think that's because we want to celebrate the new conditions at the lake that everyone has worked so hard to make happen, and also begin the season with this GBLC fundraiser.
Great.
We are very cognizant that this is a public space. We often have folks who are using the lake not intending to attend the event, although I think that would be less than it is for the use to happen. That is not a problem. We invite them to participate with us. You can't listen to the music or have.
You gotta wear earplugs.
And we're really excited to coordinate with Chris and Yovanina. We've all been coordinating to make the things at the lake happen along with, of course, Joe. And so we're looking forward to a really wonderful community.
Great. Yes. Chris, I know that you're also later on in the agenda to talk a little bit more about the Lake Mansfield celebration, but do you want to say more now?
I'd love to. Chris Remble, Assistant Town Manager, Planning Director. Thank you, Kate and Christine. And just to butter you all up, I've been listening to the meeting, and it's with great pride that I hear all of this wonderful activity in your park space. I think it's just incredible. So thank you. And there's nothing better than walking past a park and seeing it really well used on a Saturday. It's really cool. Gives a great air of vitality and fun to the town. So thank you for all you do. And thanks to all of the groups, including the Little League and Babe Ruth and now Monument Mountain and the Land Conservancy for all that they do for the town, cleaning up the spaces, stewarding the spaces. I just think it's fantastic. And frankly, it saves us as a town a lot of money. They do a lot of work for us to make these places better. So in terms of the event that Kate presented to you on June 7th, yeah, we are collaborating on that. And I think it'll be a great time to highlight all the work that we've accomplished at Lake Mansfield, both the physical construction work, but also the community engagement and liaison work that we've done with Jovanina's help and Silvana's help. It's been really great. So this will be a fun celebration.
Great. Motion?
Motion.
Second? Any more discussion from the commissioners? Nope. Take a vote to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, it is all set, and we'll just quickly go on to the next one, which is the Great Barrington Land Conservancy Lake Mansfield Beach area for volunteer work, actually to clean up the beach.
Correct, and also to do continuing planting in the rehabilitation areas, and to work on the trails and the conservation board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great, any discussion? I mean, thank you, it's awesome, more please.
I'm delighted by your support, and I invite you to attend, because you're an important part of what we do.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Road recovery.
Well, sure, yep. Hi, my name is Emma, and we wanted to have a party, spring fling party at Park Street Park. And just have some fun field games and maybe about, hopefully a couple dozen people, probably, you know, and we're a low-key bunch. We're all sober, and we like to be able to celebrate that and bring in spring with a good family-friendly event. We'll probably have some popsicles and ice cream we'll bring along with some trash bags to make sure we keep everything tidy. Maybe a few acoustic instruments. And, you know, from 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, May 3rd, we were hoping that the weather would be really good and forgiving for us and give us some good weather. As long as you guys seem to think it's okay, and it'll be a good party, and you should come if you guys do.
Motion to approve.
I would, okay, second.
Second,
That's the Park,
Discussion.
that's the Park Street Park, right?
yes.
Yes, it is.
With
Right
the
up the
dog.
street from our
With the dog.
center, so it's
With the
good.
dog. For the dog party.
Yeah, and you know, we originally said that it'd be a dog party, but we decided that maybe we're just gonna rebrand it as a spring fling party. The dogs can attend, and I think that that's probably better. We're still gonna be tossing balls around, but I do think that you know, we'll kind of keep it more focused on the humans.
Great. Joe mentions,
There's no porta potties there?
No, there are not. We do have a recovery center that we're based out of just a couple blocks away. So if anyone needs to use the facilities, I'm sure there'll be people.
Are we restricted to sober dog?
Well, you know, listen, I'm sure we do have some recovery coach dogs that we know that we can prefer, if that is the thing. You know, yeah, it takes a village.
can we take a vote? All in favor?
Hey, awesome. Thank you. Everyone's invited. It'll be fun.
Thank you so much. Okay, Smash the Stigma.
Hey everyone, I'm Gary Pratt, Executive Director of Rural Recovery. South County Recovery
Is that a
Center.
bribe?
So we're looking to replicate what we do year after year here at Town Hall Park. So, you know, some light acoustic music on the gazebo, resource fair, march through town, food trucks. Yeah, like it basically hopefully be exactly the same as last year, just maybe bigger, like attendance wise. Resource fair, you know, it all depends on how many people RSVP. We invite everyone, usually get around 40 vendors or so. Like vendors, when I say vendors, it's, you know, organizations that table and present what they do. So, yeah.
Great. Joe, do you have thoughts about the number of people and? You want this?
No, we'll be in good shape here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Motion to approve.
So can I ask one question? St. James, you worked with them in the past, right?
Yeah, we'll coordinate,
Okay.
like, we've asked for parking if it's available, they usually have something scheduled, so.
But if they have an event,
Yeah.
usually the noise is a problem, and you've worked with that
Yeah,
before.
of course.
so,
Yeah.
Can I hear a second?
Food trucks have to go through second.
Yeah,
And
great.
their license, yeah.
Okay, more discussion about this?
Food trucks, any food trucks have to register with
Yep.
them.
Yeah, we'll even help them with the application fee if we need it. Thank you for that, yeah.
Can we take a vote? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thanks so much.
Well.
Excellent. Railroad Streets, please. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Allard. I'm the Deputy Director at Railroad Street Youth Project, and we are looking to have our annual block party On June 14th, it's a Saturday from 1 to 5. We probably need to get there around noon to set up, so let's just say 12 to 6, another hour after 5 o'clock to clean up. We are going to have food trucks there. We are looking to have grilling, and I think that might be the thing that's a little different this year. This is our 25th year anniversary. We're gonna have different kid activities there, because this is for littles up until the constituent age group that we serve, which is 14 through 25. This is a community event. You're inviting their families because we're gonna be having an awards ceremony for the folks who are there as well, inviting our state representative. The last part is we are inviting some bands to showcase their talents, so almost like a busking thing as well. So we have a few bands that we're looking at from Monument and
Great.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions from commissioners?
Now, I would just like to say that I was here when you guys started with Rose Street, the Manor Route. And that this group has done what they've done over a period of decades now is amazing. It's just amazing. And the amount of kids that have been helped and places and spaces you can help their faces has just been outstanding. So I am thrilled that you guys are doing this.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be doing this. Able to come back to it.
It's great.
Can we take a vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you so much. Let us know. Okay. Those are our park usage request forms. I'm gonna suggest that we just table our specific areas of interest, because we have enough stuff that we really need to speak to this evening, and hope to get back to it next meeting. I'm tempted to sort of move things around on our agenda. Is that okay with other people? Yeah, because I want to make sure that we have enough time to hear from Chris and Giovanina, and also from Joe updates. Joe, do you wanna?
You got a question?
Yes, oh, yes,
Hi, my name's Ellen DuPont, I'm from the girls softball.
yes.
And you requested at the last meeting that we attend tonight, so I'm assuming that would be under old business?
We are happy to hear that under old business. It did not make the agenda. My apologies. Kara has been out all week and it slipped through the cracks. So would you please feel free? Yes.
I guess, what is it you would like to know moving forward now or later?
Well, I think we were just waiting for a schedule to make sure that you guys got your field time that you requested.
Yes. So, the game schedule for both our senior team and our junior team is being made now as we speak at another location.
Great.
So I'll have that.
What did you end up with, for
So we
numbers?
have one senior team of 13 girls and one junior team of 13 girls. The other towns we played in our league, their team numbers went up. So, Lee has, 2 juniors, 1 senior. Sheffield has, 3 juniors and 2 senior teams. And Canaan has 1 and 1 along with our 1 and 1. So our league is servicing 7 junior teams and 5 senior teams. So the other towns hold their practices and their home games at their facilities.
Yep.
And then we host our practices at Olympia Meadows on the senior and junior field. And we host our home games at that location.
Great. So I think that what we are hoping to get from you as soon as you have completed your schedule is just as clear and concrete a schedule as you have.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure that it goes on the calendar to block out the field for your use.
So maybe when you submit that, does your senior and junior teams play at the same time or practice at the same time?
Yes,
Okay,
they will.
'cause if they didn't, I would say maybe you can move your younger team to the
The
bigger
junior
field?
team has to play their games on the junior field because of the dimensions of the
Okay.
pitching rubber and the
These
baselines.
points, right.
So the junior field is set up specifically for the age group playing softball at that age. So the pitching mound is closer, the third to first base is closer.
You know our
and the senior-
challenges, we're just trying to keep as much. of that-
And we understand that you want to utilize the green space in that outfield because the junior field is the only field that does not have an outfield fence. And we're, again, happy to share that outfield space when need be. But the juniors, we're only asking for 8 weeks.
So I think that there's no conflict. It's just really a matter of getting as clear a sense of what the use is gonna be like so that we can protect that time and also help others to protect that time. So it sounds
So
like,
again, we didn't request, the junior field or the green space of that outfield on the weekends.
okay,
We've taken that off.
great.
Great, okay.
If need be, if the juniors want to practice on the weekend, they can do so on the senior field, coordinating with the senior team.
Great.
But we have to play games on the junior field.
So if you have a rain out.
Well, I was just gonna say.
So, you
Yeah.
know, just,
The rainouts are
you'll be able to see the
at the
calendar
time,
online.
yeah,
Yeah, so we can
Kara's-
hopefully pick or earmark another date for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, thank you for doing that. That's super helpful, but also we wanna make sure that you guys can use it when you need to use it. You just wanna make sure that we're not blocking it out for it not to be used.
right.
And so maybe that requires, at least this year, closer communication about like when there is a rain issue and you need that field for another time, we wanna just be able to make sure that there's as much flex
Accommodation.
as needed. Does that sound good? Yeah, do you wanna please say more?
Yes, because I speak directly with the coaches. They are looking at Tuesdays and Fridays, some Mondays. But they often had goals in their way and had trouble moving them out of the way, in whatever stumps, or wherever was in the ground. What would have been in their way to anchor the goals?
Soccer
That
balls?
has wheels on it.
They have wheels, they roll.
There was something that was in their way that was dangerous.
Okay. So I think one thing, again, that would be helpful is like, because we're trying to get a closer handle on the calendar and who's using it when, so that we might be able to anticipate when there might be something in the way.
And who's, like, were they responsible for moving?
We haven't had anyone,
We have not had anyone, we do not have a request for the
For
field
soccer
yet.
at all.
We do not have a request yet.
maybe what we can do is. when
If
they
you
come
do get a
up-
request for soccer usage in that outfield area, make it a requirement for them to move the goals in place while they're there, and when they're done, before they leave, move the goals out of the way, so that when the softball girls do show up the
That's fair.
next day,
That's totally.
they're,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because I mean, we're trying our best to maintain not only the field surface,
totally.
safety for the children, but to not have the soccer do the same in consideration of us.
Yeah, I think in
It would be
general,
helpful.
I think in general, the expectation should be that the fields are left pristine for the next, whoever the next group is. And so we can help make sure that that happens. Joe, did you have any other thoughts about this?
No,
before?
that's what I was gonna
Okay,
suggest,
great.
we do that.
Yeah.
Leave it as you found it.
Yes,
Will anyone else be using the senior field?
we don't know.
The
Because
thing is,
you
they're
guys
par- they're
made it
parks
our
too,
sole
people can go and use.
responsibility to upkeep
Maintain
that, so
for
we're
our
wondering how that.
So
will-
if someone else comes to request it, it will be a shared responsibility.
And they will know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've had boys on our fields as well, and they do not clean up after themselves.
So it is our intention to make sure that everyone using the fields understands what the expectations are for the fields.
We also have to remember, these are parks. for
The
people.
public park.
No, but the last time we were here, you said it's our sole responsibility to take care of it, so if we're having to take care of it, how do we clean up after people who
Well,
don't know is there?
Okay, so just to make sure everyone is understanding, they're public parks and they're Joe's ultimately his responsibility.
Yeah.
So in terms of the upkeep and the maintenance of the field for your use, you're the only team that is responsible for using the field. But it is not the sole responsibility of your team, because it is also a shared community park. And so the idea is this list is a really great list, so we can actually work on this also for your fields too. That just has a very clear understanding of what the expectations are for any team that is using any field. And if there's a problem, like there is excessive debris, or you're cleaning up more garbage than is
Let us know.
like reasonable for your team, please let us know, because that has to do with the maintenance of the park itself.
That will be curbed quite a bit with the locks being
Yes.
placed on all pre-fenced fields.
Yes,
Down at Woodland Meadow.
yes, just
Not only prevent people from using it as a dog run park, but also from kids who are watching their sibling play in the Manor League field and then run over if we happen to have an away game that night and utilizing the softball field. And after we clean it all up,
for sure.
before we exit every evening, we rake every inch of that entire play infield.
Yes. And it is also.
And then we go back the day later and somebody was on it and then it rained and then we have potholes everywhere because someone who was just running around down there was on it and did break after they were done.
Totally. So I want to again, I think it's important to just reiterate that maybe we need closer communication through the season when there are things like that happening.
Right.
And also that this is part of our community resources. And so there are other uses for the park itself. And also that there has been misuse of the field and the park. And that one of the things that we're all hoping to do for the parks in general is to maintain them in such a way that people also want to help maintain them. And so the more that you can help us to make sure that we understand what's going down there, the easier that will be for all of us. Joe, do you have anything more about this or? Okay.
I have one
Yeah,
more question.
yes.
Is there a possibility of us getting tarps when it rains, it really does damage to?
And what would you be looking at tarps, the pitcher's mound and the home plate? Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't order them because it's like yours is all clay.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you cover that, you
Yeah.
know? If it's just, if
The
you just
two
want the
problem areas are,
9-foot tarps. we
yeah,
can make
so obviously the batting boxes, because.
Right, and the pitcher's
With
mound, right.
hiking, they get dips
Yeah.
in them, the same with the pitcher's mound. The toe drag creates the hole, we refill the hole after every practice
Yep.
and game. But when it rains heavy, sometimes they can still get.
And same for your other, your junior field?
Junior field's got a grass infield, so,
Yeah.
and we're fine with that, for
Okay.
that age group, it's not important.
That age
yeah,
group isn't digging in and everything
Yeah.
else.
Right.
Not quite as heavy. heavy with,
They don't have those tough cleats.
Great. So Joe, can you coordinate with that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for coming very much. Be in touch anytime and you'll get the schedule to us so we
Yes.
can coordinate with the calendar. We're also gonna get you contact information for anyone else who might be if we have other people using fields.
We can supply that information to Carol, right?
Kara, please. Thank you. Thanks very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Saturday morning, your people don't use the junior field, am I correct?
We spoke without speaking to the coaches, correct?
We did that in respect to the Parks Commission having that space, the outfield green space utilized. So we do not schedule games on weekends in softball league. And, we requested the senior field from 9 to noon. So that if either team of either age group wanted to have a practice on a Saturday morning, they could.
And if nobody's using the junior field, you'll go use the junior field.
Yeah.
Right.
But my point is that Saturday morning, a group of kids, young people, whatever, go down there because it's available. It's not an organized thing. And they move the goals up. And they have a game, or they practice, or whatever they do, and they leave it there. So how are we going to be able to
We're gonna do the best.
take care of
possibly can.
of moving the goals back to where they were, so I don't want us to get boxed into a problem that just because it's a public use and a group down there that because it's a public place, they don't need to have permission to go down there since they're not an organized group. So it may happen
Yeah.
that they get down there the next time and the goals are where they are.
So I think that's a really, really good point, and I do think that at some point we might want to make it known that if you're gonna use the soccer goals, please put them back. Some
Just
signage
sign, yeah.
or something,
Can't be that hard.
something
No,
like
I
that.
mean, they're
But
not
also just have to have
portable.
Insure all our children. And provide you with that insurance, that these children are on the fields that you allowed us to use, but the public can go down there uninsured, off the street.
Totally.
Yeah.
Just do a pickup game.
Yep.
But they're not held to the same requirements that we are with you,
That's
with requesting the usage and supplying you with our insurance.
true.
So these are some of the things that we're concerned about, that, you know, the public doesn't leave it,
Totally true.
doesn't request it, and doesn't ensure their use of it.
Totally true.
Well, we're required to. So-
Absolutely true. So this is one of the issues with wanting to be able to reserve a field. And so this is one of the detriments of reserving a field that is for public use. And so that's what we're working with. I think the idea of having signage and also communicating that these are our expectations really is better than nothing. And also you might show up there one day and the goals are there, and you can feel free to reach out and let us know,
And
because
again,
we might be able to track that if
If
it's
you
the
have
kind
a
of thing
group
that
that's
happens.
utilizing goals or request to utilize the soccer space, I know that you will reiterate to that group,
Definitely,
because they're
100%.
requesting specifically, but it's just when the public goes down and utilizes without
Yeah.
your knowledge or our knowledge.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Is there any no dogs allowed?
It's no dogs on the field, for sure. Yes.
We need signs.
The only dogs that are allowed are on the walking path on a leash.
I think there are some signs
On
down
the
there.
walking
Yeah.
path goes
Used to
to
be
the sign that you endure.
Years ago, there were signs at
Yes.
the bottom, right at the bottom of the hill, no
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
He also, the problem is enforcement.
Enforcement.
The
Okay.
dog officer's not on call.
So in the interest of time, thank you so much.
All right.
And,
We'll supply that
Thank
information
you
to
so
Kara
much.
as quickly as we can.
Thank you. Joe, do you mind if we let Jovanina and Chris go?
Sorry?
We're gonna switch the agenda around a little bit. Great, excellent. Jovanina, thank you so much.
I'm gonna have Chris talk first.
Okay. So we're going to E number 2 for anyone who's following along on your paper.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Jovanina, thanks, Ilana, and everybody who's allowing us to jump ahead. We did, as I alluded to earlier, we are finishing up the Lake Mansfield Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Project. Those were the 2 successive grants that paid for all of the improvements at the lake, including the road removal, the bank stabilization, the walking path, the parking lot, the erosion controls and stormwater controls, the new trees, et cetera. The accessibility improvements. So all just incredible improvements. There are still some things to be buttoned up, and I'm sure Joe will cover those in his update. That we're working on those things, erosion and some other things. But one of the other key aspects of the MVP grants for Lake Mansfield was community engagement. A community liaison was a dedicated grant-funded portion of this work. And our goal with the community liaison work was to make sure that we reach out to people who we might not necessarily partner with or plan with or talk to on a regular basis, and invite them into the space that is Lake Mansfield and in fact all of our parks. That's something that Jovanina and Silvana Proaño were contracted to do, and I'm really happy that we were able to do that this year. Jovanina, do you want to jump in and give a quick maybe summary of some of the things we did and some of the things we've learned, some of the things we could do better next time?
Sure. I think I wanted to, since you and I spoke, Chris, I had some other ideas. So I'm gonna add a couple things, which is that I think I didn't wanna make, I feel like you all probably know some of what I'm gonna say, or maybe everything that I'm gonna say, so if it's redundant or you're like, this is so obvious, you know, apologies in advance. Simultaneously, I feel like, the spirit of the municipal vulnerability program grants is centered in community resilience. So it's climate resilience and community resilience. It is about, you know, making concrete changes so that Lake Mansfield is accessible. It is about making concrete changes so that a municipality can replace a culvert so that during a climate event, there's less likelihood of flooding.
Yep.
But what's really special about this particular state program is that they really want to know, how are you ensuring that your community is more resilient? Not just that the lake, or, you know, is whatever, you know, I don't mean whatever. We don't feel whatever about Lake Mansfield, but that it's resilient to increasing temperatures, that the lake itself, the health of the lake. And so I think I just wanted to like make those connections so it's really obvious, because I feel like you kind of can't talk about it enough. Spaces like Lake Mansfield, and we're going to talk a little bit about Old Maids in a moment, allow for the community to come to this. Like, we know the inherent like health of being outside, right? Like, we know that it has mental health benefits for lowering stress and, you know, helping us just cope in general with the pressures of life. It helps create, you know, a sense of perspective when we're outside in nature. We know that breathing clean, fresh air is really healthy for us physically. And there's also you know, and then nature itself, all these benefits. We can read about it. And then there's the benefits of being with other people and making connections with others. And those have also mental health benefits and for sort of just overall well-being. And they also have the benefits that are quite concrete, actually, that, that's not for that, that when we are connected with other people, we have a greater likelihood of financial opportunities through internships and jobs. You know, this is called social capital. And we have the greater likelihood that if we are struggling or we need help, that help is accessible and we don't have to go look for it, and we don't need to use, you know, a community-based organization to fill those needs. We have somebody to take us to the hospital or appointments or whatever, or bring us food. And so parks are one of the places where the greatest diversity, you know, we see this at Lake Mansfield and at other places that you all are stewards of, bring together the greatest diversity of people that we see in our community. And so it creates the possibility for connectedness across groups that might otherwise never be in contact. And so the real heart, I think the heart of this grant is, yes, you know, making Lake Mansfield a place that is accessible and climate resilient on a physical level. But the heart, and if you actually read their grant applications, which I just did, which we'll talk about later, is how are you making your community more resilient? And it's really about centering connectedness. So I just wanted to, and then to tie in climate resilience, if your community is more connected, if people are more connected, if the social like network and web is stronger, then the community has a greater ability to recover and be resilient from stressors like COVID and like a flood and like a drought and a wildfire. So I just wanted to lay all of that out because it might be totally obvious, but it might not be. And I think it can, like, we can't talk about it enough. And I feel like this is also the heart of why all of you are here.
That's a great summary.
So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Really good. Thanks.
And so, yeah, what is the point?
What are we talking about?
I have no idea what.
Like, wait, I don't, what's your name, Jovina?
Oh, Giovanina Padano.
Okay, and you're the community liaison?
I'm the community liaison, and so this work of community engagement is part of the MVP grant that funded the concrete improvements at Lake Mansfield. So there is an additional component, which is about community connection and engagement, that I am responsible for.
So what do you want from us? Or is this information?
This is just information.
So is this a requirement as part of the MVP? So we got this grant and we used the money to fix to do what we did to Lake Mansfield. Or what you're saying, a proposal to do certain things to try to encourage more community engagement?
It was part of this grant. It was a required part of this grant.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the part of the reason why Jovanina and Chris are on this evening's agenda is that this is something that they have been working on for a long time. Years. And when Silvana came to us, like a year ago, as the community liaison, I said, I'm sorry, who? What are you doing? Like, we as a commission don't know anything about this side of the grant, this side of the project that has been going on. And so this is what has been going on. And the idea is to have a little bit more transparency and understanding about all of the good work that is going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, so that when stuff comes up, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like, hey, wait, why are you here? Who are you? And what are you doing? That's the point. So thank you. And
I mean,
please tell us. Yeah.
Many of you already know this. You already think of your parks as places to connect, where multiple generations can play basketball or whatever at one time. Not all of us think that way, or we don't think that way all of the time. Sometimes we get so stuck in what we're thinking about parks as, oh, okay, let's approve the baseball league and move on. But parks are just such a vital component of our community's health and connectedness that we wanted to reinforce that for you tonight. And I know you think about that all the time. But part of our job here was to make sure that people understand that we have these resources all across town, and that we wanted to work with them to figure out how we can best improve them physically, whether it's accessibility improvements or whatever, and preserve them in the long term, because they're such a critical resource for our town and for our community.
Also, I want to add that what I really wanted to connect is all of that has to do with climate resilience, which I think that's the piece that most people are like, what does this park have to do with like Great Barrington being more resilient to a climate event? So there is the connection is this space, the people coming together, connections that can be made that otherwise wouldn't be made, that create a greater, collective resilience to moments of extreme crisis. So I felt like that's the piece that I wanted to bring to all of you that's important, because that's the heart of this grant.
So to me, like, one of the things that feels the most important about this conversation is that this good work that has been happening has felt a little bit like it has happened like outside or separate from the work that we do here on this commission, where we're approving the use of these fields and we're talking about tarps and we're talking about, and that this is actually should be that, I'm not sure that I mean it like that, but like that this actually is the same work. And what is the way to start to do the work in such a way that feels like the community coming together to do the work, instead of these things happening outside of these doors and then we hear about it. So that's sort of that's actually a request back and forth. And so I know that one of the things that's on this agenda is Old Maids and the conversation about the MVP grant as it relates to Old Maids. I'm super curious about that, because I know it's a topic that has come up for us as a board. And if please correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm speaking out of turn, both of you guys, but is that there is actually work being done towards to benefit our community at Old Maids, that is being done without our having to make any decisions about it. It's awesome. And isn't that great? We should know about that. And we should know what's happening with that. Yes? Great.
In
Do you want to
terms,
tell us a
yeah.
little?
Chris is gonna update you.
You should get community support like you do in other communities.
say more?
I'm just saying, it's like, you know, we felt obligated to do it over at Dewey Park, yet you're muscling your way into Old Maid. And that whole neighborhood has been there for years, not that they think it's theirs, but get the refund.
That, yes, that if, things move forward, I'll let Chris speak to it, if things move forward, that would absolutely be the heart of the work. But maybe Chris, can you talk about Old Maids?
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. I'm frequently discussing similar things with the planning board, who very often get down into the weeds of talking about section 3.1.4 B row A of the zoning bylaw without zooming out and thinking about what they're doing as planning for the community as a whole. And I think all of our boards are fall into that, and we frequently forget that there are larger purposes to what we're doing. I congratulate you all because I think you actually do that quite a bit. And tonight, as I said earlier, is a great example of what you do for our parks and how you think about our parks. For Old Maids, as you know, last year or the year before, Mass Fish and Wildlife applied for a federal grant to do planning in several watersheds across the state, including the Williams River watershed, including looking at Old Maids and hoping to work with the Parks Commission to see if there was any improvements that could be made there. And their goal is really about the natural habitat, and particularly the fishery and things like that. We had an opportunity this past week to apply for another MVP grant to do additional community outreach at Old Maids. I know the Parks Commission has talked about Old Maids for a while. Improvements were made several decades ago. There may be other improvements that could be made. We don't know. Part of what we try to do from a planning perspective is engage in conversations with the community to see if any improvements need to be made, should they be made, how can they be made? And so what we've applied for is a grant to do that. There are no decisions about what improvements might be because we haven't had those conversations yet with you or the community. So the first thing is no decisions have been made. Second thing is we hope to have funds so that we can have those conversations. And I think that's really what I want to deliver to you.
So Chris, am I to understand that the town is applying for money to do something at Old Maids? Is that correct?
Yes.
And has this grant been submitted?
Yes.
And well, my next question is, wouldn't it be advantageous for those of us that are sitting at this table trying to figure out what's going on to see what's on this grant application?
So
yes.
Can I just interject and say that that the grant is not applying to do anything. The grant is applying to assess the area based on community input to determine if something should be done. So it's not an action, it's not a construction, a grant.
But
Yeah.
let me just stop you there for a minute. A grant has been submitted. And in this grant, you're asking for certain things. Right? I would like to see a copy of this grant so I have more of an understanding as to what we're talking about here. So.
Of course.
Application.
Of course. It was literally just submitted. I took it upon myself, possibly that was a mistake. But based on previous conversations the Parks Commission has had and your support of the work that Mass Fish and Wildlife thought it could do, we said, here's an opportunity where we can actually get the funds to have these conversations. So that was the purpose of the grant submittal. Here's a way to advance what we've been talking about, to get the funds to advance what we've been talking about.
Well, my only comment, Chris, is that it would, I think, would have been great for you or someone to have come to this board to tell us that you're submitting this grant and show us what it is. I mean, we're kind of like sitting here.
We did.
I've been through this before with old maids. There aren't too many people sitting at this table that have done that, and we kind of rid ourselves of that monstrosity a long time ago. So if we're going to reactivate, you know, looking at it, making it into a recreational area again, it would be very helpful for us to be more in on the ground floor instead of, I'm kind of feeling that it's coming from top down, which is probably not a good way to manage things.
Paul, can I just, I don't see this as being, trying to, reactivate this as a recreational area. This grant is something that, Joe brought it up a year or so ago, that was what Matt Fish and Wildlife,
Yeah.
or the state was looking at studying and to restore waterways, you know, to a healthy situation, you know, and more natural. I don't think there was any recreational or making it a park or any of that is not part of this discussion. I think it's more a discussion of looking at this natural area and seeing what improvements could happen to it.
So,
And purely from that perspective.
so I want to just bring us back for just a second, like reframe a little bit of what we're doing. So the idea of this conversation is to do exactly what you just asked for, which is like, what is the way of starting to open up lines of communication and transparency to ease the efforts of our group and what they're doing, so that it doesn't feel like people are working in silos, not knowing what other people are doing. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And then all of a sudden there's a thing. And so I'm hoping that this is just the next conversation in a long line of conversations that help move our resilience, our well-being as a whole community forward. And maybe that involves old maids, or maybe it doesn't. And maybe it just looks like clear lines of communication between all involved in working towards the greater good of our community. Yes? How does that sit with everybody?
Sounds good.
Questions about that?
Well, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's just to have an individual come and just kind of lay this on us, and we're sitting here not know what's going on here.
Well, I'll take
We
some,
didn't know that.
well, first of
I'm
all,
not blaming anybody. I'm
I'll
just
take some
saying.
responsibility for not forwarding the email that Chris sent me about a week ago saying, I'm doing this. And I'm coming to talk to you next meeting, but I'm doing this before the meeting because I have to do this now, or I can't do this. I'll take some responsibility for that, but I think also to your point, like the idea is to know that there are humans that are out there doing legwork to help move this forward. What's the way that we can like leverage the work that everybody is trying to do to support this? So can I ask you guys to think about how to continue to keep us in the loop of what is happening in an ongoing way, so that it feels like we know we can offer help, but also you can tell us what's going on. Yes, Judy, please.
I just remember maybe in the fall, we had a community liaison who I thought was gonna come more regularly. It wasn't you,
It's still
to
on.
our meetings, and I
Yes.
think just having, maybe not at every meeting, maybe every other meeting, that could help just keep everyone in the loop.
Because everything you said in the beginning was good. But all of that needs support. You know, it's like, it's one thing to say that a park is a gathering place. But you know, you go to like Mansfield on a Saturday afternoon, and there are groups around, you know, and yes, there's different people in different groups. But what what are, you know, to foster interaction between those groups has to be somewhat contrived.
Absolutely.
And I don't really understand if that's what you were talking about, if is that part of your mission, your job, are you like, because without a doubt, the June 7th celebration is something like that, you know, where people are standing around, you know, there's a definite gathering, you know, but I would say if you, and I think that's a noble goal, but there's some legwork that needs to get done to like foster that on a regular basis.
I understand. Also, just to know, we haven't talked about this before, so I definitely have a pretty deep understanding of that it's not just organic.
Sure.
That, right, that it's not just organic, that everyone gathers in the same place and then connections are made and then we're all better, right? It's not that simple. And there are a lot of actually, you know, much more complicated questions that are centered in like justice and questions of safety, you know, that are very relevant and very present right now, right? Like, so, you know, the parks, like who feels safe going to a park? That question is now different than it was 6 months ago, right? So, you know, yes, everything that you're saying is something that I think about regularly in this work. And so part of being here, I mean, we've been talking for months about having this conversation with all of you. And so, you know, I'm glad that it's happening and I'm, you know, I apologize if it feels a little bit sort of like after the fact that it should have happened a while ago, but like, yes, these questions of how, you know, if there's something that is sort of contrived, but based in knowledge, right? Not just like, we're gonna make everyone's gonna play hopscotch together and then we're gonna connect, but like, that it's based in the knowledge of the community and what the community, what people feel like is going to create a sense of welcome and inclusion and connection, and then trying to facilitate that and make that happen. That's part of my role, but not as an isolated individual, because I can't do that. So that's why Chris and I are here talking with you on.
It'll be
Great.
something that we carry into the open space and recreation plan update. We're hoping to receive funds to begin that process soon. Ideally, we do it every 5 years. It is a prerequisite for getting certain grant funding to improve our parks. And that's something that I've worked with this commission on before, and hopefully we can kick that off soon. But part of that work will be going out and interacting with people and seeing what their needs are, what our parks needs are, how we can sustain any improvements that are implemented, et cetera. So this is the beginning of a larger conversation. If I was able to meet with you before the grant deadline of last Friday, I would have. I'm sorry I couldn't do that.
Thanks, Chris. I'm wondering if, again, like if it would make sense to have a standing, we actually did do it for a while, which was like have a standing agenda item that was community liaisons, like updates. Which I think if we could get back to that and that would be really helpful in keeping us kind of aware of what is
We
happening.
stopped that because the community liaison never showed up. So it's really
Right.
silly to put it on the agenda and not have anybody give us an update.
And I'm not sure it's a part of their, you know, availability and scope, so. You know,
Yeah, we're running out of time and budget on that one, but that's something that I would love to work with Joe and the chair on doing.
I also think that just to say that, yeah, I don't think that we knew that it was an ongoing thing on your agenda. I also can't make this time, so I had to move.
Your counterpart did know, because she was at one of our meetings.
What?
She was at our meeting,
No,
so she knew.
Silvana,
Yeah,
no.
Savannah knew it was on.
Oh, that it was regular. But not to make excuses. The other thing is that things have been happening that haven't been related to parks. So as far as the community liaison work, it has extended beyond just sort of what's relevant to open spaces and trying to make connections around other sort of like relevant things happening in the community, so.
For sure, Julie and then Shudevi, please.
No, I think it's very valuable that you're here, both you and Chris, just to re-articulate the mission, the greater mission of the Parks and Recreation Commission and any of the other town committees. And I think just to kind of keep you apprised of like, we've been working on several initiatives over the course of the last couple of years. We got to a point where we had the town engineers kind of draw up plans, come here and talk about what a scenario, for instance, at Dewey Park would look like, where we feel there is a real hole, you know, as far as community open parks and a recreation space. And so I think it would be worthwhile to, now that you're actively in this grant writing stage, to revisit those projects that were tabled, because they just didn't get any more traction as far as like, you know, budget, or I don't know, it just kind of fizzled. But I really do want to like revisit those things, because I feel like we make such progress. We really work out a lot of the details. We bring in specialists, and then it's just dropped. And for me, it's like this kind of newbie here. I just don't know why these things are just not like, the momentum is not maintained. So I think this is like really important to go back to our agendas, go back to these projects that have like been halted, and work together and look at how the new grant applications can actually revive these projects. But just coming in here and like articulating this idea of like parks, their meaning in an environmental aspect, in the human environmental aspect, habitat, I think is very important. It kind of grounds us and takes us out of like the nuts and bolts of the parks and other things. Because I mean, there are things that I still want to like continue. But it's really hard when I don't know what the budget is. I don't know if there are grant opportunities. We talk about all of these other foundations that we can possibly apply for grants. And, you know, there's no real communication between like the real grants, you know, like the real grant writing office in town hall and, you know, what we are capable of as volunteers.
Chris, she's pointing to me, but
No,
because you're not here, the real.
we
grant
don't-
writing office.
we don't, you know, have a grant writing office. To be sure, Joe and I and Joe and Alana are in constant contact, you know, with, you know, trying to effectuate what the commission wants to try to do. Sometimes just by sheer scope of everything that's on our plate, we get very focused on nuts and bolts, and we forget to zoom out and reset once in a while. So it is happening. I want to assure you of that.
But Chris, do you feel like, your name is Julie? We've met before, but it's been years. Do you feel like that you have a sense of these former conversations where engineers came in, or is that like a conversation that you feel like could happen in the future? Like, there were these conversations, here's the information, just so that it's your, renewing your awareness or bringing it to you for the first time?
No, I mean, Joe and I are in regular contact. I think we have a good sense of, you know, the path forward and how we're allocating our resources and our budgets. So, I think there's more we can do, and I think it would probably benefit everybody to take a broader look through the open space and recreation plan process at our parks as a system, as a whole system.
Chris, can I don't know if this is a request or just a point of information, but having sat on this commission for, I don't know, 6-7 years now, like I know of the open space and recreation plan. It has been brought to my attention a number of times, and I have absolutely no sense of the scope and cycle and process going into this. And just wondering if I don't have any sense of that, if there are others on the commission who also don't really understand the mechanics of what this is, what process it goes through, what the purpose of it is, what procedures contribute to it. And I'm really mindful of the time, because this has already been a long meeting. And I am mindful of the fact that our time together, one Monday night a month, to get to all of these nuts and bolts and get background information and get planning for the future is really, really challenging. So that isn't I don't have a plan for that or an idea for that, but I wanna like, first of all, appreciate everyone's willingness to sit this long, but also to say like, I'm gonna do some work in trying to figure out how to make sure that that happens on every meeting agenda, but also could maybe, Chris, if for the next meeting, you can give us a little one-page summary of open space and recreation plan info, so that we might be able to bring ourselves up to a sort of literate level of understanding of this, of the way things work.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I know you guys are working on a cycle that is different than the cycle that we are working on, which is very sort of slow. Yes?
Well, one of the things, there are in this community several separate groups that all have, I believe, a common objective, but they never all sat in the same room and had a discussion to see who is doing what and what kind of coordination needs to be done. Now, I'm not criticizing you, Chris, because I know you're only the interim town manager, but certainly that's one of the town manager's jobs for the new individual, whomever that might be, to do. Because I can think, just sitting here, 3 or 4 different groups that are separate that have a common objective. But they've never met. They never sat in the same room. And I think it would be beneficial to everybody to have something like that happen in the very near future.
That would be great. Maybe that's something we can talk about, who needs to sit. Next time when I come to see you, we'll talk about who needs to be at that table.
Thank you. I'm really mindful of the time. I want to get people out and home. So, thank you so much. To be continued. Is that cool? Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
How does everyone feel about our tabling updates from Joe? Is there anything urgent?
Yeah, talk to Joe if he's got anything urgent.
I don't.
You don't have anything urgent? Okay, great.
What, can I,
Joe, sorry.
yeah, I have a question.
Perfect.
The erosion on the beach. Like I hear about trees and drainage but the erosion on the beach and people using the beach, the sand on the beach there.
We've had a Zoom call with the engineer and the contractor, and they're supposed to be getting back to us with some type of recommendation.
Awesome.
So
That's
they're gonna fix the erosion on that path with some interventions, and they'll resand the beach.
Agreed.
Will you bring us an update on that next meeting?
Yeah, no, we should have something. We just had a Zoom call maybe a week ago.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
That's great.
That's all.
Can I ask Joe, what's going on at Stanley Park? Like I saw all the stakes along the roadside.
So, those areas there, we're gonna put a section of white split rail fence and plantings around them. The lights being restored, a couple of dead trees came down. And I received a second $10,000 check from the family.
Where's the
Actually
split
went
rails?
to look to see if I had a card for you all,
Okay,
so I
we're
didn't have
family
white. But
against
my
it.
office is-
Yeah, I thought the family was against the split rail fence.
Sorry?
I thought the family was against the split rail fence.
She actually suggested it, or when we were talking about it, was the whole thing, and then we would start creating wear paths and have to put sidewalks in. So what this does is every 30 feet or so, it just puts one section with plantings around it. So it kind of gives you a vision that it is a segregated park, but it's not gonna create the wear paths.
Yeah.
So she was all up for that.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's great.
We got some topsoil to do there in the spring, or after July 1, when, the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission bids are back, and, she's been wonderful. We keep her updated with pictures.
That's awesome. Julia?
Can we also put like, I know I spoke a lot to Hempstead about this before you left, but in the closed off area just before the College Street Bridge, can we put planters there? And like small tables and chairs?
In the road,
Yeah, like where, you know, because it's closed off. Mark said it would be okay, but, I was just wondering,
So
like,
between Main Street and the barriers,
yeah, like right up by to the barriers.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. People use it all the time.
Yeah.
Cars. Up
Plus, it's right away to that driveway behind all those buildings on that
Right.
side.
And I think there's some people in that stretch that park against the barriers too.
Okay, I don't remember like
The other
a
thing is
parking
there's-
lot. I mean, I don't remember a driveway.
There is,
Yeah.
There is-
it goes in.
Also, our traffic signal sensors are right there. So if we start getting activity, it's gonna trip Main Street and stop traffic.
Got it, I was just wondering.
We don't want that.
Yes, so I wanna just highlight that many of us are kind of curious about, discussing the rules and regulations for, charging for parking at Lake Mansfield. The general consensus was, we can't do that, but that seems to not be all of the information. I know Chris did just super preliminary research. Bill found some research that did not say that it was not allowed. So I'd like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss. If y'all want to come back with some thoughts and feelings about it, I think that would be really great.
And the other question would be for Chris is what board has the right to do that? I don't
To
think it's
choose
ours.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Chris, do you think that that's something you could let us know, do a little research on and let us know for the next meeting about so that we can discuss it?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, great.
Could I make a request for, the next agenda?
Yeah.
I'd like to request, one day that baseball is not being played on Memorial Field and close it off to a summer open air movie screening, free admission.
I love
Inflatable screen that would be on the actual field so that nobody actually uses the field. It would be too dark anyway, so it would just be like a blanket thing, kind of like where a lot of other towns and cities, you know, how they do at sundown, you go in, it's like an hour and a half, it's a kind of like a picnic. I think it would be a great community building exercise, and also I just feel like this field is so underutilized most of the year, and even in the summer, that it would be, for me, I just envision it as like the central park of Great Barrington. It is like, it's just like a wonderful space, and I feel like a movie would just be like minimal damage to the green, because it would be just blanket and sitting, there's no running in the dark. And, you know.
Maybe we could get either the Mahawi or Biff to sponsor it.
I was have been
Sponsored by the parks too.
well, yeah.
Well, no, in conjunction, but
Right.
we're not so good at doing the work. We ask Joe to do the work, and instead of asking Joe to do it,
Something like that, right?
Show
at
that
Giggle
the
Park.
parks are.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I think. it
Something
should
like that,
be
I'm thinking
under
more
the-
like Giggle Park than.
I think it should be
Memorial
under
Field.
the banner of the park. I
Yeah.
think parks should be like very visible.
no, I agree.
Yeah, and, even if it's in collaboration with Triplex or Mahawi or whatever.
I'd like another one, good idea.
Cause I asked Ben about like how to license movies, and so I have a lot of different fee schedules and like
Good idea.
some pricing for screens. Like the biggest outlay would be like for a projector, but I'd like to talk about it.
Great. So we're gonna put that on the agenda for the next, to the next meeting. Any research that you have the bandwidth to do between now and then, including dates and including
Mhm.
cost, please bring it to us. That would be great. That'd be excellent. I just wanna make sure that we're meeting all of the expectations of running a meeting. Are there any citizens who have anything to say?
We're just,
And one quick citizen thing, just about the, charging for parking at Lake Mansfield. Any barrier is gonna be a barrier.
Yes.
To people coming.
I'm gonna comment to that, just that the reason why, I was the one that brought that up. And the reason why I did is because the lifeguards were cut from this past, or it was made a proposal to cut the lifeguards to cut our budget. And instead of trying to figure out how can we get that money back, I just thought, how can we raise the money to make that work? And we can work out an equitable fee situation that would not be a barrier to people and would support our lifeguards without being a burden to the taxpayers of the community. So, you know, I feel like we have to think out of the box, considering our budgetary situation in the community now. And if we could all work out some kind of a fee situation that everybody contributes, making an equitable situation, then it would support something for
She's a citizen, like the
posterity.
rest of us, she gets.
So
I'm sure that there are many
Never took the
complex,
talk.
things to consider. I was just sharing one thought.
Sure.
There can be, even if it's 50 cents, there can be a mindset around that for people for whom, even a small amount of money is a significant consideration. So
Sure.
that's what I wanted. I'm not gonna be able to be here next month. So.
Right.
Thank you. Any more citizens?
Move for adjournment.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Joe,
Thanks,
you're
guys.
welcome. Thank you, Joe. Joe, give me.